Right. Sorry this is a bit late, but I wanted to get the most accurate thing as it needs to be, because this is pretty much the last day I can get stuff filmed for Owen to get videos out, so it's all being done in a smorgasbord, hence why you may see this shirt a lot more often over the next few weeks. Just saying. So, I bring you news. I am going to EGX. Thank you to the people over there. They've got me a press pass, which gives me access to all 4 of the days. And it arguably is going to be the biggest ever for them. Not just in terms of attendance, because I think they're expecting in total 80,000, which is I think 20,000 a day, roughly. But in terms of space as well, they've had to move obviously from Earls Court in London, because that is now rubble and is being developed into flats. Because and you know, they're not flats that are affordable to everybody. They're like high-end sort of upmarket flats. Beautiful, as in not beautiful. Well done. But sort of advantageous to me, it's actually moved close to me. I don't have to travel and stay in a hotel anymore. I can actually get home every night from the NEC, the National Exhibition Centre in Birmingham in the West Midlands. The floor space, I'm not entirely sure how much it is, but I know it's halls 6, 7, 8 and 20. So pretty much the whole side of a building. And these halls, I mean, the halls are big in themselves, so the fact that all 4 halls are being used for it, this is going to be by far bigger than anything. Yeah, the key thing to note, the one in 2012 that I went to, there was absolutely nothing upstairs, because literally the Olympics and Paralympics had only finished at the event a few weeks before, so they were still gutting that out for whatever, you know, for everything. So it was basically just on the main floor. The 2013, there was some stuff upstairs, but that was sort of the 18 plus zone area only. You could only, you know, as long as you were over 18, it was all right to go up there. But then it, you know. Then last year, for its final year, pretty much the entire hall was actually used, and you know, I've got some shots of it. I can't insert them here because I don't know about. Well, I can't be bothered to do video editing, which could be interesting. Actually, gets to the EGX videos, which will. Well, they might not be EGX videos, but I'll probably recount my experience and talk about it during the videos when Owen's back, and I can actually film these and get them directly to you. God bless you, Iwata. Sorry. Don't know why I'm saying that. But, well, I do, because, my God, what a man. Either way, sorry, distracted. EGX, bigger venue, arguably, bigger attendance, more than probably, and therefore, a lot of bigger games. I mean, so much so that if we just look at the Indies titles alone, now some of these are included in the Nintendo Indie section, but I'll get to that separately. Well, I need to do some math. That is... That's not... Hang on. Should have really done that beforehand, shouldn't I? If it had let me. The computer's being a bitch now. Brilliant. Right, it's actually working now. 56. So, 112 indie games alone. And that isn't including other... This is where it gets complicated. So in the res section, which is basically just indie games, where I'm just having a quick look through as to ones that you might have heard of or might talk about from last year. Albedo, Eyes from Outer Space, Bears Can't Drift, Dead Pixels 2. I really enjoyed the demo of that from last year. The Escapist, The Walking Dead, Gang Beasts, which I think that's the 4th EGX convention it's now been at. I'm hoping the crowds are going to be just as crazy, because, you know, I'll probably still be trying to play that. Kaiju Panic, I think that was there a few months back. Mousecraft, which it'll be good to see it there, and it's good to see it get some publicity. But I think Mousecraft has been out on PC for a while. I guess it only came out recently on PS4, and I'm not sure whether it's coming out to or whether it's already out on Xbox and Nintendo. So I'm not sure. Oddworld New and Tasty. I think the Wii U is going to be I think Nintendo are showcasing that on their Nintendo stand. Not GTA 5, which is the sort of tongue-in-cheek. It's basically a poor man's Snake, but it's supposed to be a satirical take on various stuff. Overruled and Panarium from Team 17 that were there last year. Poncho. Even the RAF are actually going to be there with some VR stuff, but we'll get to more VR stuff later because there's some big stuff there. Speedrunners is back. Tango Fiesta, they're doing a big thing where they're actually going to be launching the game out of early access, so it's going to be an actual full game during the special developer session that they're having, which apparently they are having resed developer sessions for like some of the smaller indie companies rather than just the grand ones. But the only details that I have is one of them happening, and there's no sheet info, so if anybody wants to forward this bit of the message to EGX on Twitter or whatever, feel free to do so, because it would be nice to know rather than just like finding out at the venue. Because like, well, you might want to see this presentation, but the Tango Fiesta's one at the same time. And he's like, Worms, the new Worms WMD is going to be there. And probably the best games out of that 112 list are ones that I haven't even told you. Just looking from the descriptions, there's one which is sort of like a point-and-click style thing, but you're like a bartender, just getting other people's stories in like a steampunk world, which seems intriguing. You've got mobile games, you've got console games, you've got virtual reality games, all in that 112 list. And the thing is, that isn't all the indies. There is another 29, I think it is, games as part of the Indie Mega Booth. Now, this is something that has been, I think, basically both PAX East and PAX Prime for the last few years, but it's now coming across the Atlantic to sort of be part of it this year, and it's mainly games again that haven't really got a huge amount of attention, but certainly from what I've seen, because I'm basically getting I'm creating an info pack for myself to possibly read on the train, or, you know, to prep me up before I go, as to the whole list of what's going to be there. Yeah, Iron Galaxy Studios are going to be having their next game, Video Ball. Enter the Gungeon, Boyd, quite a few games. Move or Die. You know, some not stuff that I've truly heard of, but just doing a little bit of research, there's some pretty awesome stuff there as well. And then you've got, I think it's 21, what they call the left field, which is basically people have submitted these games, and the convention is actually paying them to come out and showcase them, because they're like, you know, these are going to be some of these could be really cult classics. The one that I always bring up, and I did bring up when I had an interview with I think the people behind Orbitalis back in 2012 at, I don't know whether it was at the Res convention or the main EGX convention back in 2012, but there was a little game called Gone Home that was garnering a lot of, wow, this is a great game, can't wait for it to come out. Obviously now it's so big that it's come out that people are now clamoring to see what the next game is, which I can't remember off the top of my head, from the same developers. It's something in space by the looks of it. I can't even remember. You'll probably tell me in the comments. But there's enough there. The one that got a lot of attention at E3, I believe, was a game called Line Wobbler. A lot of people like that, but I've still got to put my notes up for that, so I don't fully know about the deal with that. To show you that it's not just your generic convention, though, there's cosplay, where there's sort of, they're calling them cosplay. Oh, I can't remember. Can't remember the fancy word. Masquerades. There we go. Cosplay masquerades. But then I think on the Saturday they're doing like a championship sort of thing, where the winner gets flown out to PAX East in Boston next year. And then I think there's the UK leg of the European Cosplay Championships on possibly the Sunday, where the winner will be paid for to compete in the European Championship finals, I guess, in Paris at the Japan Expo, which, according to the figures, had like 250,000 people attend the show that happened last month. So big stuff. For those people that want to take a step away, there's some board game stuff as well. I guess the one that I've heard, well, I've heard of Dobble. You know, I've heard good things about that. Also, King of Tokyo. Heard a lot of good things about that from Total Biscuit and things like that. But there's a whole slew, like Bring Out Your Dead, Cash and Guns, Cot Express, Coup, Elysium, Five Tribes, Looney Quest, Love Letter, Batman. Okay, that title alone seems interesting. Machikoro, Marvel, Legendary, Munchkin, Sheriff of Nottingham, and Timeline. Along, you know, they're going to be there for people to play, you know, if they want to take a time away from the video games. Don't know why I said it like that. There's also a retro area which is going all out this year. So much so that I actually have a list of what's going to be there now. They're going to have an 80s classroom set, which is sort of celebrating the resurgence of the 80s stuff. Like we've had the Spectrum be re-released earlier this year, and we've got the emphasis now back into coding in schools with kids getting Raspberry Pi systems, and then obviously, you know, with this whole digital thing, that's the digital push that's happening. It's sort of refreshing to look back in the day and in the 80s when there was BBC Basic and you could program your own video games. It was very simplistic, but, you know, simple stuff on the BBC Micro, which was arguably the biggest. Well, that and the Spectrum. If you've seen the drama documentary Microman, you sort of know that they were the two biggest computers in the 80s that simply got surpassed and enveloped by the American and the Japanese companies coming in and sort of being able to do a lot more because they had a greater chance for inventory. But there's going to be loads of that. Then there's your traditional, they call it Replay Ages section, where it's all about pretty much having every single major console there playable. Doesn't look like they've got a Wii there, or a 360 or a PS3, because I guess technically they are still having games coming out for them. Not so much for the Wii, but Sega Master System's going to be there, the Atari Jaguar, the N64, Atari 2600, the BBC Micro, and BBC, well, Acorn, I think it was the company, I guess. PS1, Dreamcast, ColecoVision, Mega Drive, 3DO, Commodore 64, Sinclair Spectrum 48K, the NES, the Neo Geo, the Sega Saturn, the original Xbox, the GameCube, PS2, the PC Engine, so Vectrex, Super Nintendo, Atari ST, and some of the games across them in no particular order: Tempest 2000, Alien vs Predator, Alex Kidd, Banjo-Kazooie, Centipede, Chucky Egg, Wipeout 2097, Crash Bandicoot, Donkey Kong, Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, Gunstar Heroes, Streets of Rage 3, Lemmings, Manic Miner, Duck Hunt, Super Mario Brothers, Fatal Fury, Daytona USA, Nights into Dreams, Outrun 2006, Pikmin, Metroid Prime, Gran Turismo 4. We'll get to that in a few weeks. Ratchet and Clank, R-Type, Splatterhouse, Mindstorm, Turtles in Time, I think. You know, a whole slew of great games. But it doesn't stop there. Then you've got the LAN section, where they're going to have Blur, the sort of really underrated Xbox 360 game, as well as Halo 3, playable on like 6 or 8 player LAN, connected up via the servers that they've got sort of in the corridor of systems that they have, sort of where they stack them up. They've also got what they call the lounges, which is basically 4 televisions on a giant table with 4 sort of sofa areas where people can play the crap out of stuff. So in the first one, you've got Halo 2, Lilac Wars, which was Star Fox 64, Micro Machines 2, and Super Smash Melee on the GameCube. And then in the second lounge, you've got GoldenEye on the N64, Mashed on the Xbox, Super Bomberman on Super Nintendo, and then Time Splitters 2 on PS2. You know, iconic multiplayer games there. Some of you may be wondering, well, what about Mario Kart? That's probably big. Well, it's so big that this year, I guess because of the 30 years of Mario thing, which we'll talk about, I think, during the next slew of videos towards the end of October. Mario is 30, so I've got an entire section for Mario Kart, or an entire sort of sofa. So one's going to have Mario Kart 64, one's going to have Double Dash on the GameCube, one's going to have the Wii version, and one's going to have Super Mario Kart. That's going to be some crazy-ass fun. Speaking of Mario as well, they're going to have Super Mario 3 for the NES, Super Mario World for Super Nintendo, Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine for the GameCube, Super Mario Galaxy for the Wii, and Super Mario 3D World on the Wii U, to chronicle the history of that. No 2, because Doki Doki Panic. But also, it's the history of Mario is just huge. In previous years, I think they did a Final Fantasy one back a few years back, 2012. The big thing was, considering it was the 25th anniversary, it was the Metal Gear games. Right from, they actually managed to get MSXs to actually play the original Metal Gear 1 and 2 as they were intended, rather than through the PS2 port of subsistence. But then they had Solid 1, 2, and 3, and 4, I think, at that time. As well as, I think they even had Ghost Babel and... did Peace Walker I guess Peace Walker might have come out of by then for PSP, so that probably would have been there. But yeah, they always try and do they try and do a themed section. So much so that because Mario's here, why not we bring along Sonic as well? So all the Sonic games are going to be there. I think Sonic 1 is going to be playable anyway, sort of depending what days you go on the standard Mega Drive section. So actually, they've got for the Sega Master System, they've got the original Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 on the Mega Drive, Sonic and Knuckles on the Mega Drive 2, Sonic 3, Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast, and Sonic Generations on the 360. So basically, the good ones. Sounds cruel, but let's be honest, they're a good one. There's also a rhythm section. I think there normally is every year. This year featuring Samba de Amigo for the Wii, Donkey Konga for the GameCube. Get those bongos out. And then Guitar Hero and DJ Hero on the 360. So you can wiki-wah and twang away. Or something. And then also, because of what's coming out in December, there's going to be a Star Wars section where they're going to have Star Wars for the NES. I'm not sure whether that's the Japanese version or the US release version. Be great if it was the Japanese one, but I'm not getting my hopes up. The Empire Strikes Back as part of the Super Star Wars pack for Super Nintendo. Rogue Squadron 2 on the GameCube. Dark Forces on the PS1. Battlefront 2 on Xbox. Just to teach Battlefront 2015 how it should be done. Because I'm not getting my hopes up for that one, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And Star Wars The Force Unleashed, the original one for the Xbox 360. So that's just the retro stuff. All that crazy stuff there. Then I can't even get to the games yet, because we've also got quite a lot of esports going down. So Project Cars are going to be there, not only just showing off Project Cars again, because that is a pretty damn good racing simulator, but we'll talk about them in 2 weeks. Or one of them, anyway. They're going to have sort of a contest thing there. There's a Dota 2 challenge going on with, I think, a prize pool of like £1,500. There's a Capcom Fight Zone section where they're going to be having the UK leg of the Street Fighter 4 like championships. They might be showing some Street Fighter 5 because it is playable on the floor, but I'll talk about that in a minute. There's also the Virgin Media Hexathlon, which I think you can technically still qualify now, but I think you've only got until Friday, so you have to be really quick because you've only got a few days. But it's sort of like to find the true ultimate gamer, and it's like 6 games, which include like Smite and Call of Duty, or Destiny, I think. Possibly Halo. There's the full details are on the EGX website if you wanted to look at what games that they are. Basically, the idea is they're going to crown a champion, and they're going to get free Virgin stuff for a year, like the top package and everything, which wouldn't be any good for me because of where I live. I wouldn't even work, so that sort of would be awkward for them. But then the big one, arguably, is Gfinity are going to be having a presence there again. Last year, I think they had sort of League of Legends and possibly Call of Duty stuff. Not sure. Possibly Dota 2. But this year, they're going big. For the first 2 days, on the Thursday and Friday, they're going to be having the StarCraft 2 Summer Masters 2, where 4 players that have qualified and 4 players that are invited will be going head-to-head for, I think it's like a prize pool of about $15,000 to $20,000. I'm not sure off the top of my head, it might be 10, but there's a fair bit of money on the line. The only snag with that is for people that are trying to get points for the Grand Series of StarCraft that's happening. There is no points here. There is literally an event in Sweden happening at the same time for those 2 days. So I think they're making sure that they can get the right players. if they can get some big names to go along with the big names that have already qualified for Korea, that's pretty impressive. But then the big one, arguably, is Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Counter-Strike Go, however you want to call it. 4 teams have been invited as part of the Champion of Champions. There is $100,000 on the line in this tournament. I'm guessing it's probably going to be 50, 25, and 12.5 each to third and fourth. The key thing to note about this, you have, I think it's Team Envious, who won the last major, which was the event in Cologne from, I think, last month. And then the other 3 teams, I think it's Fnatic, Ninjas in Pajamas, and Virtus Pro, all were in the Final 4 at the last event, which only finished this past weekend in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. And it pretty much is the 4 best teams in European Counter-Strike going head to head. I mean, I'm not sure how the structure of the event is, because they haven't fully revealed that yet, because there's still about a week for them to finalise what they're doing with that totally. But I'll probably catch a glimpse of that, because I have been starting to get into esports and following it, and you know, some of the stuff that goes on there is just as crazy as real sports, in all honesty. But probably what most of you are coming here for, the big games. Which, you know, it's nothing to say against the indie games, possibly because there's more indie games than big games here. That's the one thing we have to acknowledge. With the 112 and the 20 and the 30, there is probably double the amount of games indie than there are major. Some of which are actually indie anyway, because the first one I'll bring up is the Nintendo indies. So they're going to have basically things for Wii U and 3DS, like Action Hank, Extreme Exorcism, Fast Racing Neo, Lovely Planet, Mighty Number 9. Which is the only way apparently I'm going to be able to play Mighty Number 9 this year, so god damn it. Oddworld New and Tasty, Poncho, Rive, Runbow, Shadow Puppeteer, Soul Axiom, SteamWorld, Heist, Terraria, and Typo Man. But then Nintendo themselves are bringing a mix of titles that are already out and games that are coming very soon. So we've got Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer, which I think launches the same weekend as it's at the event. Chibi Robo Ziplash. I want to know about that, because that game seems fun, and we're probably not going to play it until, I don't know when it's ready. Legends of Zelda Triforce Heroes, Mario Kart 8, Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, Pokemon Omega Red and Alpha Sapphire, Skylanders, which I don't know whether Skylanders is going to have their own separate thing, but I think Skylanders is pretty much everywhere from what I can tell, possibly. I think Skylanders is probably going to be there because you've got the 2 ones that are Nintendo exclusives, that might be why. Splatoon, Star Fox Zero, Super Mario Maker, Super Smash, and Xenoblade Chronicles X. You know, a fair list of titles that people may have played or not, but whatever. People may already own, but also new titles that people will want to play, like Mario Tennis and Chibi Robo and Xenoblade Chronicles, and I guess to some extent Star Fox Zero, because everything I'm hearing from that, the concept of it actually happening is good, but what's actually happening with it, well, we'll have to see. Microsoft not bringing a huge amount that we officially know. They officially said Forza's there, but that's already out. Or coming out this week, I think. Halo 5 will be a big one. I think they're having the Warzone mode there. Rise of the Tomb Raider is going to be there, probably with some people, not being nonplussed by it because it's the Microsoft exclusive. Well, I don't know. There's also going to be they're going to have some games, I believe, with the Elite controller. So you get to spend £100 on a controller you can mod. And then the big one that I want to know about, the indies. Please tell me Cuphead is going to be part of the Microsoft indie thing. Because that is probably the #1 game that I want to play. It's not the game that I'll go and queue for, because the obvious ones will probably be Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, the Tom Clancy games. You know, the ones that are going to have the big queues are the ones that I'm going to try and go to first, because I don't want to be at the end of the queue. I want to be at the front of the queue. So speaking of that, Just Cause 3 is going to be there, Rock Band 4, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Rainbow Six Siege, and Tom Clancy's The Division from Ubisoft. Notably, all 3 Ubisoft games are 18+. So if you're a kid, sucks to be you. They're not even bringing, I think, Just Dance, which actually would make sense, because then Ubisoft has actually got something that people under the age of 18 can play. Just saying. Homefront The Revolution is going to be playable there. MX vs ATV, Supercross Encore, and Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition from Nordic Games. Elite Dangerous makes its return. I'm not sure whether that's for Xbox One as well as for PC, but I'll have to see when I get there. EA's contribution, you got Star Wars Battlefront. Be interesting to see how many people go, it feels like Battlefield. Because that's what that's the feeling that I think I'm going to have. It's probably not a good thing. Plants vs Zombies 2, Garden Warfare 2, Need for Speed, Mirror's Edge, Catalyst, and FIFA 16. FIFA at that time will just be coming out literally the day of the event. And then there's still some games to be announced, but obviously I'm recording this on the 14th, so we're having to deal with it from there. Sony is pretty much going big, because by the looks of it, Sony is actually going to have the Call of Duty Black Ops 3 game as part of its stand. It's not going to be a separate thing like it's been previous years. It's actually going to be incorporated into Sony's stand. That's how much they're under the finger now, Activision. So we've got Alien Nation, which is the sequel to Dead Nation, the zombie game that nobody can play in Germany because they're not allowed it. Assassin's Creed Syndicate is going to be there as well, so possibly a second demo, which could be interesting. Broforce will be there as part of the PS4 stuff. Destiny The Taken King, but already out. Disney Infinity 3.0, already out. Everyone's Gone to the Rapture, already out. So you see something that's going on here. FIFA 16, which will have launched. Guitar Hero Live, which seemed... Rock Band 4 seems more enticing, because the whole, I don't want to perform to an audience. Technically, I already am. There's going to be 20,000 people there every day. What do I care about what the audience says on the game, when it'll be what the people care about that are watching, waiting in the queue? Huh? I Am Bread, part of the Sony stand. Mad Max and Metal Gear, obviously already out, because people are loving / hating them, depending what way you're looking at it. Lego Dimensions, NBA 2K16. No news on WWE 2K16, by the way. I am asking questions, trying to find out. There won't be any breaking news videos, but keep an eye on the EGX Twitter and possibly my Twitter, even though I can't actually tweet from... I can Facebook... No, I can Facebook from the event, I think. Well, no, that'd be on the other account. I guess you'd have to check out the Facebook. Oh, I could post it on the... Sorry, I'm deliberating in my head for what I should be deliberating, not off video. Need for Speed is going to be there. Once Upon a Life, Pro Evo 16, Ratchet and Clank, Rocket League, Shadow of the Beast, Soma, apparently Star Wars Battlefront, so there could be 2 demos of that as well, along with Need for Speed. Street Fighter 5, Tearaway Unfolded, Tomorrow Children, Until Dawn, and the Uncharted package of the Nathan Drake collection. The big one that I left out is Project Morpheus is going to be hands-on. Supposedly there's details this week about being able to book sessions with the thing. I'm going to try my utmost to try and book it despite these, because it's getting to such a point that some of the games on the indie section are VR only. It's getting to that point where clearly VR is now starting to be embraced as something which is practical rather than a pipe dream. So much so that, you know, there's going to be Project Morpheus demos that you have to book for. It's going to be the first place in Europe that people are going to actually be able to try the HTC Vive VR headset that's co-developed with Valve. And one of the games that's really been getting quite a lot of attention from Endreams, The Assembly, the VR game which is geared for any VR headset but will be shown off apparently on an Oculus Rift at the event. That's going to be there as well. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is I'm going to struggle trying to get around all these games. There isn't, well, thank God there's 4 days. Because if you're there for 1 day, you're going to have to really pick and choose. In terms of developer sessions, they've cut it down this year. There's less of them, but probably is for the better. I don't know. Looking at some of them, there's going to be a one on Project Morpheus. There's a couple of Total War ones. One on the Warhammer game, which will actually be playable at the event. Why isn't that listed anywhere on their website? I'm going to have to put that in my notes. And also Total War Arena, the free-to-play thing. I'm not sure whether that's playable there, though. It would be nice. The guys from Ninja Theory are going to give more details on Hellblade. Chet Felice from Valve is going to be talking about VR. And then straight afterwards, Patrick Luanay from Endreams will be talking about some more virtual reality stuff in regards to The Assembly. David Braben and Frontier will be there with Elite Dangerous. Homefront The Revolution is going to have a developer session. There's going to be an Uncharted retrospective, looking at it from where it started 10 years ago. Probably 10 years ago in terms of development anyway. Right through to the upcoming Uncharted 4. Prison Architect will be there, giving details on the actual date where it leaves early access and will be a full-fledged game. There's going to be a live Let's Play with Super Mario Maker. There's still some slots to be filled in. On the indie front, Aita from Enemy Entertainment will be having a session. Mike Biffle is going to be having an interview / Q&A session, given the success of Thomas Was Alone and I say widely praised because there were some people being very critical of it. The widely praised volume, and then probably the star one. You know, a few years back it was Kojima, and I think Nolan North did one a few years back as well. Last year, I don't know really what the significant one was, to be honest, but this year. The man himself, the president of Sony, Shuhei Yoshida, will be there to mark 20 years of play, because the Tuesday after it, which might be just up in time for this one of the future videos, hint hint. Although it's less of a talk about actually Sony and more about a game which was key to Sony's success. Either way. There's going to be a Q&A session. It's obviously not going to be live questions from the floor, more than likely. It's going to be, you know, predetermined questions and whatever. But a Q&A session with the president himself, Shuhei Yoshida. It's big. They're going big, and I'm pleased to say it's actually close to me, so I can actually come home. I can still watch Doctor Who. That's all it was like. It was like, okay, there's an after party going on. Previous times it's always been Saturday, so I've always missed Doctor Who. This time, I guess because it's so big and because they're in a venue where they're in a convention centre rather than a pub, they can actually go somewhere else. Or they can actually go somewhere where they've got more of a extent of, you haven't got problems of it obviously being a public area because it's sort of within the convention centre. And because of that, they're actually doing 2 days of parties. One on Saturday and one on Friday. Just because I don't want to miss Doctor Who. I've gone for the Friday. Oh, that's the power of that story, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway. So yeah, that's your EGX hype video. I think you can tell I'm slightly hyped myself. Can't think why. Hashtag EGX 2015. Hashtag pop at EGX. Or something. You know. Owen and his lot, they can have fun at the Halloween Horror Nights. I can have fun playing video games. Oh wait, I do that anyway. Whatever it is, I'm hyped. If you're going, I'm hoping that you're hyped. If you're a developer, you know, I can't wait to probably play your games. I would try and get an interview, but knowing my luck with all my devices, I ain't going to be able to record anything of any quality that's worthy of going up on YouTube. So I'll probably need to get a camcorder that probably costs more than the £40 I paid for a digital camera. It's supposed to take photos and not video. And there's a crappy mic. Yeah, this needs investment, but hell, look at what I'm in. Bear with me. But I'm going to talk about this because I want this show to be a success. Because I want it to stay close to me. You know, travelling knackered me. This time I'm more prepared than ever. I'm bringing the hand sanitizer. Because I'm not staying in a hotel room, I can actually sleep in my own bed. So I know who slept in the bed last before I went in the room, because it's my bedroom. Oh, die. As of recording, it's only 10 days away. Oh crap, I need to book train tickets. So yeah, I'll quickly end this video. Bye!